Hi there. Welcome to our latest bonus chat. If you missed our podcast looking back at Leinster v Zebra, be sure to check it out on Apple, Spotify, and all the other usual places. Last week for this video, we looked at the overall Ireland squad for November. But as we all know, our first matchup in this series has a lot of standout qualities all on its own. So we're going to have a look at what kind of expectations Ireland will have playing the All Blacks. Have we reason to see our glasses half full going into it, David?
I don't know. I don't know. I think this could be a very interesting fixture. The two teams are at completely opposite ends of the season from each other. The All Blacks have played the Rugby Championship. I think this will be their ninth or tenth game of the season. Ireland are just starting out. And it's a an Ireland team in flux in a couple of ways. There's a lot of injuries in the centre. Sam Prendergast and Jack Crowley are neck and neck for that jersey, so it's hard to even know. I think it's probably one of the first times in a long time that a lot of us who follow this game really closely, really couldn't confidently say exactly who's going to be in the 23, never mind even the 15. So I think it could be a very, very interesting game. And that being said, apparently I was looking back on, 2016 and it seems so much more certain in hindsight, but we weren't 100% certain going into that game or anything even close to that going into that game either. So, sometimes players can rise to occasions and Chicago is going to be an occasion. It's only my own bank account that stops me getting over there myself because I'm sure it's going to be an absolutely phenomenal day. It's going to be a brilliant one, but I think it'll. I just hope that there's enough in the team to make it worth to make them worth the trip because it could be such an intense game that you would hope that the players who certainly from the Leinster side who haven't really brought everything that they would usually bring to the start of the club season can now up it for the start of the international season. I think it'll be a big test of Andy Farrell because he was absent from the national coaching setup for the last 12 months with the Lions tour. There's always been a big thing made of how important he is to the team as a coach and how much more he's able to get out of all the players um as the head coach. And I think this will be a real test of that because you've got some players coming in from Munster very much on a high from the start of their season, a lot of players coming in from Leinster on a low from the start of their season. I think Connacht are now the second most represented team in there, and then Ulster have five players in there as well and have had a really good start to their season. So it's a lot of players coming in a lot of different places. It'd be really interesting to see if he can bring them up to it. I think that's a real test of a head coach. I always admired the fact that in Wales you could have the Ospreys not even knowing how to tie their own shoelaces, and then Wales would be going out and winning Grand Slams. Like that's the kind of thing we want to be able to see from our head coach. So, I think it could be very interesting team sheet, but I hope that they've been out there since the 21st, so they've been out there since Monday just gone. A lot of extra time in the lead up to that game. Obviously, then we have the rest of the November series to follow on, so it'll continue from there. But yeah, I hope I'm going to say glass half full. I'm going to say that the occasion is something that the players will want to rise to, and there's enough players in this team who have enough confidence from their previous international performances, but enough to prove, from their more recent performances. There's a lot of Leinster players who'll want to right some wrongs from their club season, and there's Munster players like Jack Curley and Tadhg Byrne who'll want to go. Usually it's Leinster coming into the camp on top. Now we're coming into camp on top. Let us show you why. And I think the melding of all those players be a really great thing to see. I know. So yeah, I hope it's going to be a really good game. And I'm really interested to see what comes out in New Zealand because there's been a lot of changes in their playing staff as well. Um, the rugby championship obviously didn't go exactly as they would have planned. It's probably the most evenly balanced rugby championship certainly that I've ever watched. And yeah, they'll be hurting from being pipped by South Africa for the second time in a row. I don't know when the last time that happened. So, it's two teams I think who'll have a lot to prove in terms of coming up just short in their respective domestic competitions. So I think that combination could make it a very serious match. And the only thing I would hope, considering that we've got three more games after that, is that it doesn't take too much of a toll on the bodies because I think it's going to be an intensely physical game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mean, I do think there is there's bits on both sides, but that still gives a lot of cause for optimism on Ireland's point of view. I mean, it's like yes, New Zealand are well into their season, but that season hasn't gone great for them as well. There's going to be a lot of footage for Andy Farrell to look over and try to find out like how the Springboks for one thing turned everything around in 7 days and were able to come up with that mauling in Wellington. But so and Gibson Park was interviewed just after I think they landed over there in Chicago, and he said they've been trying out some new things in training, and they've been so they're obviously looking for and of course they kind of need to. I think last year was kind of having won two championships. They have they kind of a sort of reinventing kind of phase, try out some new things, Prendergast, other experiments as well throughout the team. So they still got 4 wins in the Six Nations, but third place would have been disappointing, I suppose. But now we're talking about this November series where it's not just that we're playing three of the rugby championship teams, but there's also ranking points. There's World Cup draw, all that kind of stuff factoring into it as well. So it's important. It's important that we take this seriously. But we'll see how we get on. And of course, like you say, New Zealand side of things. On the one hand, they haven't had things gone great for the past few weeks. They'll want to turn over that result from Chicago the last time they played out there. But on the other hand, I mean, New Zealand, they're the masters of hubris in the sense that they play their way no matter what. And
Yeah.
this is what we're going to do, and this is their All Blacks way of doing things, and that can provide in itself a kind of a weakness to exploit. So it'd be interesting to see how they approach it as well. So there's a lot of different factors. The team we're going to pick, yeah, I don't even know if we're going to do a preview show later in the week when the team is picked, and I think there's a lot. But I think what we're looking for now is just the sort of the mindset Ireland fans can have going into it. It's
Yeah.
it's another tussle with the All Blacks going back to before 2016. Of course, we'd never bloody beaten them, but now it's kind of more even at this stage, and we can definitely be a lot more confident. That's for sure.
I think so. And it's like it's a team full of players who aren't afraid of the All Blacks. Like they respect them, but they're not afraid of them because we've beaten them enough now. We know that we can. We're peers at this stage. Um, and I think that's a great thing for the game as well because there's only so much you can get out of a rivalry where one team just consistently beats the other. This is now definitely one where we've gotten to a habit now of just trading victories back and forth. I think I even remember before the last World Cup, in my head, I was like, I hope we lose to them the last time we played before we
Mm.
played them in the quarterfinal because that's how that usually balances out. So yeah, no, I think it's a much better thing. And I think there's players in there as well who've like had some really good form coming into it. And I'd be really interested to see if they can like push into the team because I do think there's a lot of spots that are open, particularly with Hugo Keenan isn't there because of injury. Kellen Doris is there, but there's still a lot of questions over whether or not he'll actually be match fit. So there's spots in the team. I think Robbie Henshaw and Bundy Aki are both doubts. Stuart McCluskey came off injured the last time he played for Ulster. So there's spaces in that team, and when you have people like old Irish heads like Jacob Stockdale, who obviously was such a hero in the 2018 game, has kind of fallen out of favour in international game, but then has been playing phenomenally with Ulster to the start of the season. If someone like him could push back in and show some of the form that he showed at the start of his Test career, that could be really exciting to watch. Then out to guys like Nick Timoney, who would have struggled to would have made it into Ireland squads, but struggled to feature. It's great to see him back in there, see if he could push. Down to someone like Tom Farrell, who like obviously has come into the squad now due to injuries as additional cover, but has been absolutely lighting it up for Munster at the start of the season. He won their player of the year at the end of last season. Seems an incredibly popular guy in camp. Like if someone like that could push into a team sheet for the All Blacks, even as a Gary Ringrose loyalist, it'd be such a cool thing to see. And I think particularly with how the Six Nations ended, a very uninspiring win over Italy to finish third. I think this could be a great game, win or lose, but ideally win. This could be a great game to really inspire people and to show like some of the newer talent coming through in someone like Farrell, who obviously is old but is new to the international scene, and the re-emergence of someone like Jacob Stockdale, who even if I say re-emergence, the guy's in his 20s, like he's still young and has so much years. So I'd love to see those guys push on. And we have our scrum half battle as well. It's all the talk about the out half battle, but you look at that scrum half battle. Craig Casey is on fire for Munster. James Spark not playing his best for Leicester. If the team she gets named, you got Casey and Crowley at 9 and 10. I wouldn't even be that angry. It'd be it'd be so. I just think whatever team should be put out, I hope we look and go, yeah, we're gonna have a crack off this. And looking across the squad now, I think there's the players there to go. No matter who we pick, I think it could be a really exciting game. And yeah, no, I can't wait. I hope it's going to be a good game. That's the thing more than that. I hope it's a good game because I want something I can watch from start to finish and just enjoy because ideally that's what you want from this kind of game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about like the likes of Candor's traveling over, even though he's probably still injured. I mean, I'd still be for that. I like to keep the group together, especially the group captain. If they think he's going to be fitted all to play even one match at the end, like maybe
Yeah.
be ready for the Springboks. It's good that he goes on the tour. I mean, and then at the other end of it, though, you've got players like you talk about players who could have kicked on. This month, Cormac Izuchukwu is one who's really unlucky to get injured when he did. I thought this would have been a perfect series for him to really establish himself and push into that 23. I think he's the kind of player, the kind of 5'6" player we're looking for to sort of back up the likes of Tyg Byrne, who aren't getting any younger and all that stuff. So it was a really good chance for him. But listen, yeah, plenty of reason to be optimistic going into this series. Listen, that's great, David. Many thanks for that. We're going to leave it there. Of course, after the team is named, like I said, we're going to be recording a full preview show as well. So stay tuned for that. And if you, the viewer, have any thoughts yourself ahead of the match, or indeed anything you'd like us to harp on in future, please leave your comments below. And sure, while you're at it, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as well.